Ladies and gentlemen, there you hear the applause. Yours truly is here. I am back. It's time for yet another episode of the Red Ring Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are prepared. Tonight is in for a heavy discussion here tonight as we get prepared to find out who's more popular, who's more precious, who's more important in your lives, neighborhood, and homes. Is it the guns or is it the kids? We'll see you in a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is yours truly, Darrell, here for yet another episode of the Red Ring Podcast here on a good Sunday. It is good old May the 20th of 2018, and I can tell you that today brings a lot of concern as an individual who wants to be a father, who's a godfather and an uncle. There's a very deeply concerning situation going on here in our respective homes and neighborhoods and schools and churches and other venues that we could see neighbors and we can see friends. But it's more taxing on the heart, the spirit, and the soul to go out there to see that there are individuals like our people in government, these politicians, these governors, these mayors who go out there and say some of the most ridiculous stuff. Some of their most ridiculous thoughts come out of their brains that they feel is right, that what's in their hearts, to go out there and say the things that they are saying after these school shootings have happened. And it's just so many of them have happened since January. And I mean, I have a respective list here that goes back to just February. There was at least 5 more school shootings just in January alone, including one that happened here on February the 9th here in Nashville, Tennessee, where we had an individual at Paracoin that was shot 5 times, a student 5 times in the parking lot. That just spells so much danger, and I understand why a lot of people will take the road to homeschool their children or to, kind of shelter their children away from doing extracurricular activities or giving them cell phones or things of that nature to be able to reach out to parents as soon as possible when things like this happen. You have to look at the aspect of how many children are out there, and it's now getting to the point that a lot of these children are growing up. A lot of them are becoming adults, and you have the millennials out there who are not really trying to have kids. So the population of children is decreasing, but you could probably say that it's increasing or decreasing depending on how you want to look at it. But it's still a growing concern that it seems like we have adults, parents, who've trained and taught and hey, what's going on, guys? Who've trained and who've taught and pretty much, giving people these affirmations or confirmations that they're more concerned with protecting their ownership of guns and keeping guns in the home because we have the right to bear arms. Yes, the Second Amendment is here that we do have the right to bear arms, but here's the problem that people have taken with it. It doesn't mean you need to go out there and own every gun that you can buy out of a gun store. It doesn't mean you need to go to a gun show and buy another 5, 6, 7 guns when you have an entire room or gun safe or 2 of them at home full of guns, including ammunition to load each and every one of those guns. And people were like, well, I go hunting and things of that nature. Well, that's fine. You go hunting for a sport, but that's still a gun within the home. If you keep more of those guns in the home, now before I go any further, don't take it in any kind of way that those who shoot for sport or competition or shoot for a hunting type situation. I'm not taking it away from those individuals. I'm not taking that away from them at all. Some of them have a very strong responsibility to be able to keep those guns away from where they need to, but it's becoming way too easy and accessible for guns to be where they are. I mean, we have gun shows that have absolutely no regulation on them whatsoever. You could go there with a pocket full of cash and walk out of there with as many guns as you wanted to buy if you had the cash to buy them. And it's just now we're looking at the fact that we're sending our kids to school, whether it be to college, off to college if they're not in the same city or state, sending them to elementary school and middle school and preschool and daycare and high school and aftercare. And it's always a concern, are parents working too much? Are there people not out there to be able to watch the kids? Are there not extracurricular activities to keep kids, out of gangs and out of trouble? It's more of a concern to worry about, what can we do to protect these children more and more and more. And it's just like every time you turn around, you're looking at more shootings that are constantly happening, that are going on out there. Sorry guys, you heard my dog. I stepped on him by accident. He's like right up under my feet. But there are more shootings going on consistently each and every day. Like I said, this goes back to January of just this year alone. February the 9th, we had a shooting here at one of our high schools in Nashville where a student was shot 5 times in the parking lot. Now that alone just makes my skin crawl, because it's like, okay, how accessible are these guns? How accessible are these guns to students to be able to get access to them? Where are they getting them from? Are there too many out there? Do we not have enough control or enough regulation to be able to keep these guns out of the hands of individuals? Like, do we need to enact a law to where an ownership can only have so many guns? It's just like, I know of an individual here who I know personally whose father has 3 gun safes in his house. Each one of these gun safes is stocked full with pistols, handguns, shotguns, rifles, semi-automatic rifles, and there's ammunition for each one of those weapons that are locked in that safe. And I just look at him, it's like, why do you need all this? Well, I'm a collector, but you have ammunition for all of them. If you're a particular collector, why do you need ammunition? Are you going to go out and shoot them? I know, if you don't shoot a gun out there a while, they tend to jam and rust up and things of that nature, which is fine. You go out there, you clean them, that's fine. But it's just like, really? Some people own an entire arsenal of weapons in their homes, and it's just, why do you need that many guns? And it's like, some people could literally start a small militia just out of their house just because of how many guns that they have. Almost everyone in Chicago got a gun. There's an 11-year-old at the gas station put a gun on 4 high schools because they wouldn't buy him candy. They can't find the kid. This happened in Chicago. Oof, that brings up a point. Like, how are you getting access to these guns? And people's like, well, there's guns out there everywhere. They're just everywhere. They're out in the streets, and gangs and drug dealers have them and things of that nature. It's like, well, that's typical. Like, that's not an excuse anymore. Stop saying that stuff. Like, that's not an excuse anymore. Like, there are guns out here everywhere. You have dirty cops. You have, you have just about everybody under the sun, from drug dealers to gangbangers to dirty cops to regular cops to respective gun owners, and then you have people who own whole militias and armories in their house, and it's just like, you kind of think about it, it's just like, do you really need all of that? And it's just, it tears me up, but it chokes me up all in the same, because it worries me, because it's like as I said, if you don't know me, I want to be a father. I don't have any kids, but I want to be a father. But it's like, what do I have to look forward to for my child's future and my future alone? Am I going to always be on call, either at work, to rush up to my child's school because there's somebody in my child's school with a gun? Do I need to be, trained to have a gun license to protect my child? And it's just like, what do you do? It's like, do you teach your child how to shoot to protect themselves? Do you not? Do you keep guns completely out of the house? What do you do at this point? And it's, hey, what's going on? How you doing? Let me go down the list of all the school shootings that have happened since May the 20th. Now, as I said earlier, there are more shootings that have happened, but this is just a list that I was able to compile before the show. Is as I said previously before a couple of times, February the 9th here in Nashville, a student was shot 5 times in a parking lot. February the 14th, as we all know, in Parkland, Florida, 17 individuals were killed from a 19-year-old student with a semi-automatic rifle, an AR-15, if I'm not mistaken, and we have that individual in custody at this point, and the students there have been on a roll, trying to become essential activists and survivors all in the same, just to get out there, just to get the word out there, to get more regulation on these guns, because it's getting ridiculous. Then, now I'm gonna go down this list, and then when I go down this list, you're gonna hear a lot of different places, a lot of these places you probably did not hear on national news, because it may not seem as significant to the world, but to me, as far as the United States, this is too many. February the 24th in Savannah, Georgia, one individual was killed at Savannah State University. If I'm not mistaken, it was told that that was not a student, but still at yet another shooting at a school. February the 27th in Idabara, Mississippi, one individual was injured and while being shot at the rec center at the university at Mississippi Valley State University. Yet here it is, yet another college, and it's just like they're just working their way up the list. March the 2nd, Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Now, this one did make national news. 2 individuals were killed at Central Michigan University. Now, those 2 individuals that were killed were the parents of the individual who did the shooting. I had to go back and read that full story to see if if more information had came out about that, as far as what happened or what exactly led him to kill his parents at the school. Now, March the 7th in Jackson, Alabama, at Jackson State University, a student was shot in the dormitory. Now, that wasn't life-threatening injuries, but that individual is still alive. There's still yet another shooting at a college. And also on March the 7th in Birmingham, Alabama, an accidental shooting. Now, you use your biggest air quotes here, people. An accidental shooting. One individual was killed and one individual was injured. No other information has come out from the police about this, as it's being deemed as an accidental shooting, which makes it more draw of a concern, like, were the cops involved in this situation? Were the 2 people who were shot, one was killed and one was injured, were they a part of, were they being chased by the cops, or was it just those 2 individuals that were shooting at each other, or what exactly happened there? March the 8th, the very next day, in Mobile, Alabama, University of South Alabama, there was an individual that was shot and was injured. Like, y'all see this pattern here. This is consistently, almost week after week, there's another shooting that's going on here. March the 13th, Seaside, California, a teacher discharges a gun during a safety meeting, and one student was injured in the process. Why do you have a loaded weapon inside of a safety meeting where there's students, where there's people who are living, who are breathing, who are paying attention to you, whether they're listening fully, intently or not? Those are living, breathing individuals that you took a gun to and discharged it by accident. One of my chatters in the chat, Chris Henley, says, I feel the government needs to focus on background checks and not have gun conventions, because that's when guns can get in the wrong hands. Now here's the thing about the government being involved in this. The government can't really do much about the gun conventions. The gun convention owners themselves, or the gun show owners themselves, it will be up to them to stop the shows and whatnot, if they want to partake in it. But that has went down previously before, just recently after the Parkland situation, where a gun show owner was like, yeah, I'm done, I just can't do it anymore, and people pitched an entire bitch about that happening. Dick's Sporting Goods stopped selling assault rifles, and now since Dick has done that, other gun makers out there have stopped wanting to allow Dick's Sporting Goods to sell their weapons in the store. It's just kind of like, okay, that may make Dick some money, but at the end of the day, that gets guns out of an easy location. Why they're in a sporting goods store anyway? Most people go in Dick's Sporting Goods anyway to buy. When you go in Dick's Sporting Goods, you don't go in there to buy a gun. You go in there to look for gear for hiking and skiing and snowboarding and whitewater rafting and running and basketball and football and soccer and things like that. It's, why do you assume or want to go into Dick's Sporting Goods or anything like that to be buying a gun? Walmart is notorious for always have been selling guns, because you can buy a fishing license out of Walmart as well. If I'm not mistaken, you can also get a hunting license. They've always been selling shotguns and rifles inside of Walmart. If I'm not mistaken, they've recently taken rifles out, and it's just kind of like some of these locations like Walmart, where you can pretty much buy anything including a casket. In some locations you can buy a house, or you can finance pretty much your entire shopping experience inside of a Walmart in certain locations across the United States. But still, the point is that it's too easily accessible to buy guns in easy places. Dick's Sporting Goods, Walmart, these places, like, their gun shops are far few and in between. Guess where they need to be. You can't you can't buy a weapon online and have it shipped. If you do, it has to be reported a certain kind of way, and it has to be in parts and things of that nature to be able to send it across. And it's just like, you should be able to send that across, period. If you can't buy it where you are and there's not a place for you to buy them, you shouldn't be able to access them at all. And it's just like, you have gun magazines out there where you can purchase them through that way, and the special weapons you can purchase. I mean, you can, like, there's some weapons out there that cost as much as a car. I mean, it's just like, why would you want to spend that kind of money on a weapon? What are you going to use it for? Why do you even have it in your possession in the first place? But that just goes back to this list. I mean, we can go further on down the list. In Lexington Park, Maryland, 2 people were shot. 1 individual was died. The resource officer that was there on the school grounds shot the shooter. The shooter was killed at the scene, but it's just kind of like you're still thinking about this. It's like, this is close to home. This might not be next to my city or in my city, but this is literally close to home. Like, some of these places are literally within reach or within driving distance for most of the people who could be listening or are listening right now. And it's just like, it's a cause of concern, because some people have moved from some of these places or still live in some of these places where you have family in places with kids like this. And it's like, you think about it, it's like, why should I not be concerned for my own well-being, my family's well-being, my own children's well-being, being inside of any place nowadays where potentially could be a shooter. And then you go further up the state, you go back to Gloversville, New York. A child was shot with a BB gun in school, and I'm just like, a BB gun. While it's not a real bullet, a BB gun can inflict some real pain, some hurt. It could potentially injure or severely injure an individual if aimed and pointed at an individual. And you kind of look at that and it's just like, well, how the hell did you get a BB gun in school? And it's just like, there are no checks. They don't expect kids to bring those kind of things to school. So it's just that then kind of now you think about that, it's like, what do you do? It's like, and that's why I titled this podcast, Who's More Popular, Guns or the Kids? And it just seems like nowadays, with the way that our politicians and governors are speaking, and the NRA and all these other people are speaking out, it's just like they're more concerned about making sure that people have guns than they are the children. These are people's lives. A gun is more popular than a child's life. That could be our future politicians, future presidents, astronauts, car makers, and innovators out there in Silicon Valley. These could be our next CEOs. You could be our next police officers, firemen, anything. But these people don't get an opportunity to live their lives because they're losing their lives inside of schools, because we have politicians and people in federal government who are just too damn blind, dumb, deaf, and stupid to think that, oh, we're just going to say a silent prayer. Yeah, a prayer for the family, that works. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do? You're too busy so far in the pockets of some of these corporations and the NRA and everywhere else, and all of these PACs that will hire you. You shouldn't feel like you need to be hired into government. You earn your place. You campaign. You go out there. You make these promises. Whether you live up to them or not, you have people. You get them to influence those people out there to vote for you, to put you into office. But it goes to cause and concern, because it's like you have all these people that's donating. Like some of the corporations that we sponsor here today, like we have like the cell phone corporations, they're doing it, and our internet service providers like Comcast and AT&T, and then you have all these other super PACs where there's multiple people who are dishing money into this one huge pot that is paying out to other people. And if you want to look this stuff up, you can look it up. This is public knowledge. For any politician, governor, mayor, anything out there, you can see where their money is coming from. You can see where these super PACs are being sponsored by some of our big governments out there. And it's just, well, big corporations out there. And it's, you just kind of look at it, it's just like, why would you want to sponsor somebody like that? But it's all about, getting their way in the federal government, trying to keep money in the pockets of the big corporations and things of that nature. And it's sad because we see the same thing happen every single time there's a shooting that goes on, and it's, oh, let's say a prayer, to get us through. That's fine and dandy, you want to say a prayer, but at the end of the day, there's something that needs to be done. There's something really needs to be done to assist these kids. Like, we can't keep hearing things like this and suspect that our children are going to be okay. We can't hear bells ringing constantly, school bells ringing, and then assume that our kids are going to be okay. They're not going to be okay, because it's everyday parents, guardians, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunties, nieces, nephews are constantly out there praying for their brothers, their sisters, their uncles, nieces, nephews, sons, daughters, praying that their children will come back home, that their nieces and nephews will come back home, that the foster parents are hoping that they'll come back home, the adoptive parents are hoping that your children come back home, your grandparents and parents are hoping that their kids come back home. It's sad that you literally have to pray and hope that nothing happens to your child, or nothing happens at their school, that your child will not come back home to you. And it's, you just continue to go down the list, and Raytown, Missouri, one was shot and injured at a track meet. And then you go to Ocala, Florida, there was one injured. It was a 17-year-old was shot in the ankle during a walkout about gun control. And then you go out to California, Paulendale, California, where one was injured. A 15-year-old was shot in the shoulder because of the walkout. And then you go to most recently, just a few days ago, May the 18th, in Santa Fe, Texas, 10 people lost their lives because somebody decided to walk into a school and shoot and kill. And you have the governor, or I believe it's the governor, or we're not even going to say the governor, just not even to put a respective title. We have respective individual who represents the state of Texas in the government decides to go out there to say that after having church that we're going to pray, and there are too many doors and exits in schools. Nowadays, that's how shooters are getting in and creating the damage that they're creating. Dude, are you fucking serious right now? Excuse my language, individual. There may be people watching, and kids may be listening right now, but I am so sorry. But this, I feel more personal to them and the parents out there, that you have to listen to people like that who represent your state, who represent your city, who come from where you come from, to go out there and say dumb stuff like that. There are too many doors and exits. That's why shooters are being able to get into schools and being able to shoot schools up. You have to remember that a lot of these kids don't even know who the shooter are. Sometimes they do. Like in Parkland, Florida, this kid went to the school. Then you have to remember that a lot of times some of these shooters are students themselves. They go to the school. Sometimes you have shooters that don't go to the school, just regular everyday adults that go into schools and shoot them up. Just like you've had the incident with the elementary school where the guy went in and shot up all the kids. It's a cause of concern, because you have our government officials out there saying dumb and reckless shit like this, like the individual from Texas is saying. We need more control. We need more regulation. We need better background checks. We need a better system to be able to control how these guns are getting out there, who they're getting in the hands of, because this is ridiculous. Like, you have to really make the decision if you really want to send your kids to school every day. Do you really want to send your kids to school so they can get a proper education? But are you more concerned that they possibly may not even come back home after you send them to school, because they may be shot or killed while they're at school because of somebody decided that, oh, I just can't take it anymore. I just feel like I just want to shoot up a school, or shoot up a church, or shoot up a outside concert, or shoot up inside of a building, shoot up a military base, inside of a warehouse, inside of a postal office. Any of these things, any of these places have all been shot up in recent time over the last 10, 20, 30 years. This is absolutely ridiculous. And now I feel like that the people who are supposed to be out here to create the laws and the bills to protect us, to protect the children, are more concerned about the NRA, gun owners, and anything else, because it makes me feel like, more to answer the question here, who our government is more concerned about, they're more concerned about the guns. That's who's the most popular inside of the minds of the government and inside of the politicians and the people who's supposed to represent the states out here. I sometimes honestly believe that you have parents out there who believe the same exact thing inside of their homes, that your guns are more important than your children. You can be a gun owner all day, but you have to remember, if you have kids, those kids come first. Your family comes first. That gun can wait. That gun should be there to protect them. And if you're allowing your guns to be out in the open, easily accessible, where kids can get a hold to them, then that falls on your conscience, your heart, and your mind, that you allow something like this to happen. And I have to sit here and I have to give my support, my love, my undivided love out there to all of those individuals, all of those parents, those mothers, those fathers, those aunties, those uncles, those families who have lost lives inside of these schools because people have went in there and decided to shoot up a school. or those parents who've had to go and meet their children at a hospital, get that unnerving call from your school that your child has been shot, your child has been killed, your child is injured and being rushed out to a hospital. Guns are out there so far and too easy to get a hold of. You have so many people out there that are losing their lives because of a gun. And just like one of my viewers said, guns can be replaced, but kids can't ever be made the same again. Everybody out here is an individual. Everybody out here is unique into their own flavor, regardless if you're twins, triplets, quadruplets, sextuplets, centuplets, however. Every individual person is different. Every individual person is unique. Every individual person is amazing in their own right. But once you lose a life, you cannot get that same life back again, no matter how hard you try. No matter what you do, you cannot recreate the same child that you had before. You cannot expect to have a child, lose that child, and recreate that same child all over again. It's not going to happen. It's very sad, and as you can see, I'm getting a very somber tone here, but it's very sad that I have to sit here and realize that the popularity between a child and a gun leans more towards the gun than it does the child. Is very sad. It really hurts my heart that me, as an individual who hosts this podcast, who also streams video games and things of that nature on Twitch and on Mixer, that I have to be concerned for my audience constantly. And if anybody who's been inside of any of those streams know that there are kids that come in my stream all the time. There are kids that come in my stream who have autism. Kids who come in my stream who have social anxiety or any other of those disorders that kids can be, diagnosed with. They come in my stream, they come hang out, they come have a safe space where they can come and play their favorite games or enjoy their favorite games as I play them, or be able to chat with them about their day, to check on them to make sure that they're okay. It worries me to no ends that I feel like sometimes that I'm the bigger brother, sometimes the father, sometimes to some of the people who come into my streams or who listen to these podcasts, that one day I'm going to get a message, and I fear the day that I do, that I'm going to get a message that something has happened to one of them severely and they may not come back, or something happened and their life was taken from them. I will be utterly distraught and really sad, and people may think of that as a joke, but at the same time I treat my viewers as if they're family, because without them I wouldn't have the things that I have. I wouldn't have this podcast. I wouldn't have my community that I have grown from streaming on Mixer and Twitch. I wouldn't have that if it wasn't for them. And it's really sad that every time one of them says something is wrong with them, I'm jumping to the gun to make sure to find out what's going on. Are you okay? Do you need somebody to talk to? Do you want to talk about it? Come hang out in the stream. You don't have to chat. Just come hang out. If you want to talk about it, just message me privately. They all know that. Everybody who comes in my stream on a regular occasion knows that. If there's something wrong, you don't want to talk about it in chat, and you just want to discuss, cool. Hit me up. We'll chat. We'll talk. I'll take the time out to talk to you. Doesn't make a difference. All of them know that. I'll stand the ground and protect them with every fiber of my being constantly, no matter who it is, child or adult. There are people who come to my stream who I've become close friends with. There are people who listen to this podcast who I've been friends with for years, some I've been friends with for weeks or months. But at the end of the day, those people I do consider a friend. If something was to happen to them, I would be upset. I would be tore apart. There are people here right now who are listening to this podcast, who are actively inside of the live chat here, who I know come from, my gaming community from Twitch or Mixer, or have, seen me in other streams or other places and have just, supported and followed me along through social media. Anytime I, make a tweet or anything like that, they're there. I just want to say this one thing to all the families, to all the individuals, to the friends, to my own personal family, to my godchildren, to my nieces and nephews, to everybody out there, to my future children who will eventually be here. I can say this one thing: I love you. If I could protect you, I would. My own children have my undivided attention and protection and love no matter what. But anybody else out there, I love you. There are people out there that care about you. There are people out there who are willing to talk to you. There are people out there who are willing to sit down with you, to go over anything, to talk to you about anything you want to talk about. You may not want to share it right then and there, but just understand that those people are there, out there for you. There are people out there like me who are willing to take time out of their busy day to sit down and chat with you. It ain't got nothing to do with me. But if you hit me up and say something is wrong and you need somebody to talk to, I'm going to sit down and talk to you. I just really feel bad for, all the people out there who are constantly sending their kids to schools or sending family members to churches or movie theaters or sporting events or concerts and getting these dreadful phone calls or text messages that they won't see that individual anymore. It's really hard to actually sit here right now to look at this list that the most recent day for a school shooting was May the 18th. This is just school shootings. This is not adding in all the other shootings that have happened. These school shootings go from May the 18th back until the first week of January. That's too many. Way too many. And we're not doing enough to protect these children while they're trying to get an education, while they're trying to go about their daily lives with their friends, their classmates, and their teachers and their administrators, to be able to go out there and live a life, to be able to learn things that we know, learn new things. They can't do that. It's really sad that sometimes that some of these kids could go to school and the last thing that they hear is the final bell of the day. And next thing you know, they have no more life in their body. The only thing that they hear is the school bell and screams. And then their life is taken away from them. You have people who come out here and consistently, every day, get up, have the passion to go out there and teach children, to administer children, to administer schools, and they have to then turn around to make the dreadful phone calls to parents, to guardians, to grandparents, to friends, to family, to make news announcements, to send out letters, to be able to write these letters, to be able to sign their name at the bottom, to say that this happened. What could we have done? That's the constant questions. What could we have done? The one big thing that we can do here in this world is protect those lives. Each one of those children that you see, the next time that you go out there, people, please, for my sake and yours alone, when you get up on tomorrow, as it is Monday or Tuesday, or whenever you get outside, the next time you see a child out there, don't be a creep or anything like that, but please know, say a prayer for any child. Say, just, you don't even have to say it out loud. In your mind, just tell that child you love them. You have too many schools. You have too many children in neighborhoods nowadays. Some of us could be living near children right to this very day. They could be your next door neighbor. They could be living above you in an apartment. They could be living next door to you in an apartment or below you. They could be in the same building, same complex. You can see them at church, you can see them in the store, you can see them anywhere. But at the end of the day, we have to remember that each one of those children, each one of those individual people that you see every day is unique. They are not the same. They could be twins, they could look the same, but they are dynamically two different people. If you don't take anything else away from this podcast today, people, just know I am here for you. I will sit down and we'll talk with you. But there are children out there who need attention, who need somebody to look up to, who need a role model, who need a big brother, who need a big sister. Go out there and volunteer and assist these kids. Help your nieces and nephews. Help your brothers and sisters. Go out there, join big brothers, big sisters. Go out there and be a big brother or a big sister to some of these kids. Sometimes that's all they need is somebody to talk to. They just need somebody to hang out with because they don't have anybody else. We can easily stop some of these school shootings right in their tracks just by sitting down and talking with these kids. Let's be out there and do our due diligence. Excuse me. I'm tearing up here. Let's get out there and do our due diligence to protect these lives. They're unique. They are amazing. They are strong. And they are us. Protect these kids with every fiber in your being, ladies and gentlemen, because I know I will. If I have to give a life for my own kids, there's no question. My kids can have my life all day, every day, as long as it will protect theirs. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been yours truly, Darrell. This has been the Red Ring. I'm going to ring this school bell for the last few times for some of these kids who have recently lost their lives throughout this year, because they definitely need to know that somebody's out there for them. Y'all have a good night, ladies and gentlemen, and I appreciate you for listening to the Red Ring podcast. Have a good night.